Before you start mounting acoustic panels on your walls, there's one thing you need to understand first, and that is your room profile. This is a crucial step that often gets overlooked. Sound treatment isn't just about grabbing a handful of panels and slapping them at random spots on the wall, or just filling the entire room with them. Every room has its own acoustic fingerprint. Your room size, shape, and materials all influence how sound travels, reflects, and builds within it. And without recognizing your room profile, it becomes difficult to achieve the results you're aiming for. Acoustics can feel overwhelming, especially with so much unclear information out there. But don't worry, this video cuts through all the noise. By the end, you'll know how to analyze your room, identify problem frequencies, and approach your treatment with confidence and accuracy. Whether you're brand new or refining a space you've worked in for years, this guide has you covered. Today, we'll explore the 10 key factors you must evaluate before beginning any treatment. Let's get right into it. The first thing you want to identify is the purpose of your room. You need to be clear on how the space will be used, whether it is for recording, mixing, podcasting, home theater, office or warehouse use, a gym or general living. For example, a podcast studio requires far more control over sound reflections than a standard office. Your room's purpose defines your daily tasks, and those tasks ultimately determine the most effective treatment approach. Next, figure out your room measurements. You'll want to determine the width and height of every wall in the space. Start by measuring the overall ceiling height so you don't have to repeat that step unless your room has a sloped or vaulted ceiling. In that case, measure the height for each wall individually. If your room isn't a simple square or rectangle, maybe it's a pentagon or has multiple angles, no worries. Just measure the width and height of every wall, even if you end up with 10 of them. You'll also need measurements for the ceiling. Since accessing the ceiling can be inconvenient, the easiest approach is to measure the width and length of the floor and note those values. Even if your ceiling is vaulted, angled, or has cutouts and doesn't perfectly match the floor, these measurements are still useful. At this stage, the goal isn't perfect accuracy. These measurements are simply used to create a reasonable estimate when determining your overall coverage target. Next, you need to pay close attention to what your room is made of. Materials like concrete, drywall, wood, and glass all interact with sound in very different ways. Soft, plush surfaces like carpet can be an advantage as they help absorb sound, while smooth, hard surfaces tend to exaggerate mid and high frequencies, with glass being one of the worst offenders. A quick and easy way to evaluate your room is with a simple clap test. Stand in the center of the space, clap firmly, and listen closely to how the sound reacts. Pay attention to the echo, the decay, and any ringing or flutter you hear afterward. If you listen carefully, you can begin to identify how each surface is affecting your room's sound and get a rough idea of where problematic reflections may be building up. Another effective way to understand how your room behaves is by using a sine sweep test. This method provides far more insight than the clap test. A sine sweep is a controlled test tone that smoothly moves through the entire audible frequency range, from deep low bass around 20 Hz all the way up to 20 kHz. As the tone travels through the spectrum, your room reacts differently to each frequency, revealing problems that are impossible to detect with the clap test. To perform this test, sit in your primary listening position and play a slow sine sweep through your speakers at a comfortable volume. As the tone moves through the spectrum, listen closely for frequencies that suddenly become louder, fade away, or feel boomy, hollow, or uneven. These changes are not coming from your speakers. They're caused by the room itself. Low-frequency issues, in particular, become much easier to identify during a sine sweep. For even better results, move slightly forward, backward, or side to side while repeating the sweep. If certain frequencies change dramatically as you move, that's a clear sign of standing waves and room modes. This test gives you valuable insight into where your room is exaggerating or canceling sound, helping you make smarter decisions about speaker placement and acoustic treatment. While a sine sweep doesn't replace professional measurement tools that provide accurate frequency data of your room's response, it's an excellent step up from the clap test and a practical way to understand how your room behaves before investing in treatment. If you want to take your testing even further, you can move on to professional measurement tools for precise insight into your room's acoustics. This typically involves using a measurement microphone like the UMI K1, software such as Room EQ Wizard, and an audio interface. With these tools, you'll be able to see detailed results such as frequency response graphs, waterfall plots that show decay time, and modal analysis of your room. You can also run a more conclusive listening test by playing a full band reference track through your speakers. Choose a song with a healthy balance of low, mid, and high frequencies across the spectrum. As the music plays, move slightly forward, backward, or side to side, just as you would during a sine sweep. You can also step into a secondary listening position to gain a different perspective on how your room responds. Now, while some surfaces easily accept acoustic treatment, others require you to adapt your approach. For example, mounting panels on floors is neither practical nor safe. If your floor is carpeted, that's good news. It already helps with absorption. But if you're working with hardwood, tile, or concrete floor, you'll need to compensate by adding a rug or carpet, ideally covering your primary work area. Glass is another surface that cannot be treated directly with panels. In this case, you'll want to compensate with sound-dampening curtains, thick drapes, or freestanding panels. Leaving glass untreated can severely degrade your sound by exaggerating mid and high frequencies. Even a single heavy curtain can make a noticeable difference. Next, take note of your fixtures and furniture. Windows, vents, doors, couches, and even wall art. These elements all interact with sound and can either improve or degrade your acoustics, depending on the materials they're made from. For example, a leather couch placed behind your listening position can help absorb some low frequencies while dispersing higher ones. On the other hand, a large frame picture with a hard surface will reflect sound back into the room. For windows, installing heavy drapes or sound-dampening curtains can significantly reduce reflections and help control outside noise as well. Next, you'll want to list out your sound equipment and clearly identify which pieces will be the focal point of your work. For example, a voice artist will prioritize the microphone and vocal clarity. An audio engineer will focus on accurate speaker monitoring. A home theater user will care most about immersive surround balance. Understanding your priorities helps you determine where your treatment will have the greatest impact. Now we're getting into the practical side. Let's say you're Zack, a recording artist who does it all: vocals, instruments, mixing, and mastering. Your studio is 14 by 16 feet with an 8-foot high ceiling made of hardwood, drywall walls, and hardwood flooring. Say there's a window at the front, a door at the back, a leather couch in the room, and of course, your studio desk equipped with monitors, a subwoofer, a microphone, and your instruments. Your goal is simple: to create a balanced acoustic environment that works for every task you perform in that space. Let's add a carpet on the floor and drapes on the window. Whether you're a recording artist, audio engineer, podcaster, or home theater user, the number one golden rule is this: find your first reflection points. These are the exact spots where sound waves first bounce off your walls or ceiling before reaching your ears, and they're the primary source of early reflections and unwanted echo. To locate them, sit in your main listening position and have someone slowly move a mirror along the walls. Wherever you can see your speakers reflected in the mirror, mark those spots. These are your reflection zones, and this is where your acoustic panels will have the most immediate and dramatic impact. Ensure you do this for all walls and ceiling. Once you've found your reflection points, it's time to start adding your panels. But how much coverage do you actually need? This depends on your room's purpose and size. As a general rule of thumb, most rooms benefit from treating 15 to 25% of the walls and ceiling. Some spaces may require much more, up to 40 to 75% coverage, especially if the room is used for critical audio work. Recording studios, for example, often go up to 40% or even beyond because tasks like vocal tracking, mixing, and mastering require the room to be as controlled and balanced as possible. But if you're not doing highly critical sound work, sticking to that 15 to 25% range is usually just fine. Also, keep in mind, this isn't a strict rule you must follow robotically. Always start with smaller coverage, test your room's response, and then add more panels only as needed. For Zack's 14 by 16 room with an 8-foot ceiling, around 40% coverage is a solid target since he's working with full-range audio tasks like recording, mixing, and mastering. To estimate this, calculate the surface area of each wall and multiply it by 40%. That gives you a rough coverage goal for wall treatment. Do the same calculation for the ceiling. That said, ceiling coverage can vary depending on your budget and acoustic needs. If you don't feel you need heavy treatment overhead, you can reduce that number to around 15 to 25%. For example, an audio engineer might treat only about 20% of the ceiling to control speaker reflections, while still maintaining 40% wall coverage for balanced results. Next, decide on the panel size you'll be using. Panel size, combined with your target coverage area, will determine how many panels you need in total. One of the most common and efficient sizes for coverage is 2 feet by 4 feet. You're free to use any dimension you like as long as the size provides effective coverage for your space. For this example, we'll stick with the 2 by 4 size. To calculate quantity, start by finding the square footage of a single panel, then divide your target coverage area by that number. This will give you a rough estimate of how many panels you'll need at that size. Keep in mind this is only an estimate. The final quantity may need to be adjusted to account for obstacles like doors and windows. Windows are best treated differently, typically with heavy drapery or curtains, while doors can sometimes accommodate a panel if needed. Based on Zack's room, that breaks down to roughly 6 panels on the left wall, 6 on the right wall, about 5 on the front wall, 5 on the back wall, and around 11 on the ceiling, for a total of approximately 33 panels to treat the entire room. Since there's a door on the back wall, that count can be reduced to 4 panels, or alternatively, a smaller panel could be mounted directly on the door. The same adjustment applies to the front wall, where the panel count may drop to 2 panels due to the centered window. In that case, the window would be treated with draped curtains instead. For the ceiling, we can bump the count up slightly to about 12 panels to keep the treatment more evenly balanced. After making all these adjustments, the final total comes out to around 30 panels. I know all of this math can feel cumbersome for some of you. No worries at all. I've included a link to a calculator I built that automatically estimates the ideal panel quantity for your space. Simply enter the measurements for each wall and the ceiling, and the calculator handles the rest. Feel free to check it out at your convenience and see how it breaks everything down for you. Next, let's talk about what type of panels you should use: absorbers, diffusers, or a combination of both. This choice largely comes down to your budget, your aesthetic preferences, and the type of sound you're trying to achieve. Absorbers and diffusers serve opposite purposes. Think of absorbers as sound sponges. They reduce reflections by absorbing acoustic energy, resulting in a drier, more controlled sound. Diffusers, on the other hand, scatter sound reflections evenly throughout the room, helping create a more open, spacious, and natural listening environment. You can use one or both, depending on your goals. Once you've decided on your panel size and type, the next step is choosing the depth and density of your panels. This stage is critical for achieving effective absorption across the room. The right choice depends on your room's purpose, its size, and the main acoustic problems you're trying to solve. The most common panel depths for absorbers are 2 inches and 4 inches. 2-inch panels are optimized for absorbing mid and high frequencies, while 4-inch panels are far more effective at controlling low-frequency energy. You can use either option or a combination of both depending on your needs. As a general guideline, 2-inch panels with a density between 40 and 80 kilograms per cubic meter work very well for most setups. If you want stronger low-end control, step up to 4-inch panels using a similar density. And if you're aiming for a balanced sound while preserving some brightness from higher frequencies, denser 2-inch panels in the 96 to 128 kilograms per cubic meter range can be a great option. When choosing diffusers, it's best to stick with proven designs such as quadratic residue diffusers with depths ranging from 6 to 10 inches, or 3D skyline diffusers with depths between 4 and 10 inches. These designs are widely regarded as professional standards for achieving effective, reliable diffusion. Finally, let's talk about corner bass traps. How important are they, and do you really need them? Corner bass traps are designed to control low-frequency energy that naturally builds up in corners and throws off the balance of a room. When low frequencies are out of control, a space can sound boomy, boxy, or uneven, an issue that's especially common in smaller rooms, but one that can also affect larger spaces. Even if you don't hear obvious resonances, low-end buildup can still distort mix translation and overall playback accuracy. For this reason, treating your corners is strongly recommended if you do critical listening, recording, or surgical work on sound. Recording artists, Audio engineers and home theater users tend to benefit the most from corner bass traps. In less critical environments such as offices, gyms, or restaurants, corner traps are often not necessary. When treating corners, it's best to cover them from floor to ceiling whenever possible. If that isn't an option, a 2-foot by 4-foot bass trap in each corner is a solid alternative. Make sure the bass traps are designed to fit into corners and look for designs with depths ranging from at least 4 inches up to full corner depth for effective low-frequency control. You can choose between absorber-based, diffuser-based, or hybrid bass traps depending on your goals and how your room behaves acoustically. And that's how you approach acoustic treatment the right way. Start by understanding your room's purpose, measure your space, identify reflection points, and choose the panels that best fit your needs. By the way, if you'd like to learn where to get test tones for your Sine sweep test, there are several reliable sources available. One solid option is Audio Dynamics. They offer test files that let you isolate individual frequencies or run a full frequency sweep across the entire spectrum. I recommend downloading a few different options in wave format so you can thoroughly evaluate how your room responds before investing in treatment. You'll find the link in the description. For more precise, professional level testing, you can use a UMIK 1 measurement microphone, which is available on Amazon for around $129. It's an investment, but a worthwhile one if you're serious about accuracy. You'll also need to download Room EQ Wizard, a free measurement software available at roomeqwizard.com. We've included that link in the description as well, so go ahead and check these out at your convenience. Also, if you want to learn how to DIY your own acoustic panels, we have step-by-step videos on this channel to guide you through the process. But if you're short on time or simply don't want to deal with the stress of DIY, feel free to visit our website and place an order. We'll take care of the build and deliver high-quality, professionally made acoustic products right to you.